everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are making another Easter themed treat box. This one today is inspired by Wendy Cranford here on YouTube. She made this video many moons ago. I saw it and thought it was pretty great. There are a few things about it that I would change, but overall it's a really fast to mass produce gift box. So what we're making today is this little guy. So this is a HoneyBee label that I put a Happy Easter sentiment on. That sentiment comes from a Simon Says stamp set called Happy Easter. They were very creative. The colored cardstock is from Cardstock Warehouse. I have 4 different colorways that I did these boxes in, and I will list the colors below that I used. The crinkle seam binding ribbon is what I use to kind of close them. I think I purchased mine off of Amazon, but there is an Etsy shop called My Scrap Cabin that I would recommend you going to if you are in the market for some crinkle seam binding ribbon. But what I had in my stash worked just fine. And then these little boxes slide open. Well, in theory. Except for on camera, do they slide open? They slide open, and I just put a Ferrero Rocher in there. But there is a lot of room in there, so if you wanted to put, you know, some little tiny toiletries or different other kind of candies, an EOS lip balm, the circle ones, I think you could find a lot of things that could fit in here. The finished dimensions of that are 2 by 2, and it's 2 inches high. So I think that you could fit quite a few things in there. One of the things that I am not crazy about is that this kind of comes open. What I will probably do is go back and put just a dot of glue in here, because that'll help it keep it closed a little bit more. And I think I would like the look of that a little bit better. I just thought of that. And she may have done that in her tutorial, but that's one of the things that I think I'm going to actually go back and do. So very easy to make, very little cardstock. You can actually, if you are going to mass produce this, I'm going to give you a little tip. So on this piece right here, this takes 2 different pieces of cardstock. If you were using pattern paper, like heavyweight pattern paper, I wouldn't necessarily worry about this too much, but this piece measures 2 by 11. So if you were going to be making multiples of these, what I would recommend doing is cutting it down to whatever even number. So let's say I was going to just make a total of 3 of them. So I would cut my paper down to 6 by 11. And then on the long side, so the 11-inch side, you're going to do a lot of scoring. And then you can go back and cut it at 2 inches. I hope that makes sense. So let's pretend that this piece of paper was 6 inches long. 6 by 11. So I'm going to go ahead and score on the long side at 1.5, at 2.5, at 4.5, 6.5, 8.5, and 9.5. But if my paper was 6 inches long, I would score all the way down. Okay. Then I would turn it and put it into my paper trimmer and cut it the 6-inch side at 2-inch strips. That would make it go a lot faster, especially if you're making multiples, because you do all of your scoring one time instead of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different score lines on however many pieces of paper you're doing. I hope that makes sense. So that's just a little tip for that one. So again, this measures 2 by 11 inches. We scored at 1.5, 2.5, 4.5, 6.5, 8.5, and 9.5. Okay. For this, I want to do a tag topper. So I have this tag topper punch from Stampin' Up. I don't think they make this one anymore, but they have other ones. If you wanted to, you could just put, you could just round the corners, or you could skip this entirely. But I'm going to slip this into my little punch here. I'm going to flip it over just to make sure I have it all the way. And I'm going to punch. And I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the opposite side. Make sure it's all the way in and punch. Okay, so this is what you're left with. This originally measured 2 by 11. We scored at 1.5, 2.5, 4.5, 6.5, 8.5, and 9.5. And then we put it into our little tag topper punch, and punched on each end. Okay, this piece is done. We are done with this piece for the moment. This other piece measures 3 3/4 by 8 1/2. Okay, and on this one, on our long side, very simple measurements. Actually, this one has simple measurements all the way. You're going to measure or score every 2 inches. So 2, 4, 6, and 8. Then you're going to rotate it and you're going to score again at 2. And this is what you're left with. Okay. So you kind of have taller squares and then some shorter squares. And on the long side, which was 8 1/2, we scored at 2, 4, 6. Well, here we scored at 2, 4, 6, and 8. And then we rotated our paper and scored again at 2. Okay. So this piece is all done. So we're going to do just a little bit of trimming. So first I'm going to kind of fold and burnish. So where we scored, we have a little valley there. We're going to turn those into mountain folds. So we're just going to fold it back over on itself. Okay. We're going to do that all the way across. And as I go, I'm trying to make sure that things are lined up, so my paper is kind of even. This is, like I said, cardstock, warehouse cardstock, and I will list the colors that I used below. And it is of a heavier weight, just because I feel like anytime I do a 3D project, I want it to be of a heavier weight. So this is the only one that we're going to score things just a little bit, or excuse me, burnish things just a little bit different. The ones that are close to your punches, or the ones on the very end, normally we would fold them back on themselves, but this time we're actually going to fold them the opposite way. That's just going to make that a little bit easier. So you made your valley fold a bigger valley, but the rest of them are going to go the same way as before. You're going to make your valley into a mountain. Again, trying to make sure things are even all the way across. So here again, this is closest to our tab. I'm going to make that valley a deeper valley and fold it back over onto itself. And then the other ones, you're going to make your valley into a mountain. Okay. Super simple. Super simple. Okay. So this is what you're left with. This is how it's going to kind of go together. Okay. So no cutting to be done on that one, but there is some cutting that needs to be done on this one. So what I like to do, because this is going to be our glue tab, it's going to go into the box. Just to give it a neater finish, I'm just going to snip off just a little bit of a sliver right there. And then I'm going to miter on this one as well, just a little bit. And that frees up this little tab right here. And then I'm just going to miter ever so slightly on each of these. So here's our score line. I'm going to miter there and there. Essentially, we're going to create a little V that removes our score line. And I'm going to do that all the way across. She did not do that in her tutorial, Miss Wendy Cranford. But I discovered that I just liked how the box went together a little bit better when I did just this little bit of mitering. And then this last edge, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. So that is all of our cutting. So everything is ready to go. So I'm just going to, I don't know if you guys saw that, but we have a lot of Japanese beetles here in Texas right now, so they are everywhere. Okay, so to make this part go together, you're just going to take a little bit of glue, and I like to use liquid glue. Whenever I'm doing like a 3D project, I really do like to use liquid glue. I feel like it makes the box go together better. So I'm going to bring this up together, make sure that they're even. I don't have anything overhanging. And then I'm going to fold that together on itself so that I can really push and press it together. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So this is the back of my box because there's my seam. So I'm going to fold, okay, here's my back because there's my seam. Do you see it? I'm going to fold the two sides in, but before I do that, I also liked adding just a little bit of glue here on these 3 tabs, just because I felt like it popped open if I didn't do that. Like the bottom of the box kind of popped open. So I'm going to fold in the other side, I'm going to fold in the back, and then I'm going to fold in the front. Honest to goodness, this is not really a critical thing, just because these tabs don't go all the way to the edge of the box. So you're really not seeing a seam anywhere. But I just felt like that, looked a little more professional. So if you see how this is kind of popping open, that last tab in there, that's why we put glue on that one, and that's going to help adhere that down. And as I'm doing that, I'm just making sure that everything is kind of flush and square, that I don't have any like wonky edges. I'm going to add just a little bit of glue on this one right there, just because it's not wanting to adhere. So that is the actual box portion all done. So let's finish our little carrier. So that's the box done. Easy peasy. So for the box, I cut 4 pieces of pattern paper. This pattern paper comes from Paper Studio, so from Hobby Lobby, and it is called Seasonal Floral. As far as I'm aware, this paper pad is still available. The other pattern that I chose was this one. It was like a purple background with greens, purples, and some like orangey peachy flowers. I thought that one was really pretty. And this is the other pattern that I chose. So I'm just going to add glue to all 4 of these real quick. Just do this super fast. Oh, these measure 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. I just liked the margin that gave, the border that it gave, but if you wanted a bigger or a smaller border, you can adjust that however you'd like. So for the box, there's the seam. I'm going to put it on the opposite side of the seam. You just want to make sure that wherever, really it doesn't matter because this slides into the like carrier here, so it really doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that you're putting your paper on opposite sides of each other. Really, that's the only thing that matters. I am making these for Easter, but if you were to change the sentiment, these could be for just about anything. So for this one, you have the part where we punched, then you kind of have this section here, this rectangle, and then you have more of a square. This goes on your square. Okay. So same thing over here. You have your place where you punched, a rectangle, and then you have your square. And like I said, I liked this border, so these measure 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. So there's that. So I put, this one has a Raffaello. Is that how you say him? Raffaello? I don't know how you say it. I'm not fancy. And like I said, there is a lot of room in there, so you could add more things in there if you wanted to. Like I said, I think one of those EOS lip balms would fit in there. That'd be pretty cool. You could even put some of that, since I'm giving these away for Easter, you could put some of that green grass that they use to fill Easter baskets with. You could do that. I make my own like shredded paper from scrap cardstock. And I could put that in there just to fill it up some more. But I may just put another candy in there eventually. So anyway, that's what I've got so far. So I think I am going to do what I said. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of glue here, just because I want this to go together more so it doesn't look like it's popping up. So I'm just making sure that this is all lining up, and then I'm just squeezing until that glue kind of sets just a little bit. Yeah, I think I like that better. So let me show you. And I may need to even put the glue down further. Yeah, I'm going to put the glue down further. But do you see the difference? Like that's just with glue kind of more toward the punch there. I think I am going to put some more glue on there and kind of glue those down a little better. That just looks a little more finished to me. Okay, so I have some crinkle seam binding ribbon. I purchased this off of Amazon, but I would recommend going to My Scrap Cabin on Etsy. I'm just going to fold this little length in half. I'm going to put the loop through the punch of the tag, the hole of the tag. I'm going to open that loop up and bring the loose ends through it. And then we have our little tag there. Okay. Now my sentiment comes from that, that Happy Easter Simon Says stamp, and then the label is a HoneyBee die. I don't know what name of the die it is, but it is from HoneyBee. I do know that. I did put a Dollar Tree foam square on the back, just so that this would have a little bit of dimension and stand off of it just a little bit. I'm going to remove that label, find which piece of pattern paper I don't like as much, which is this one, and then I'm just going to try to center that, and then that is our little project complete. How cool is that? So it slides out really easy, except for on camera, because nothing works on camera. I swear it does come out easy. My little guy flipped over because I was shaking him. Boop. All right, and then he does slide it easy. There you go. So that's our little treat box complete. I hope you felt inspired. I hope you send someone some Easter greetings. And until then, I appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time.